If I remember well, today is the third Monday of January, and that means it is the holiday. It is a special day for the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, Dr. Martin Luther King of the United States. We would like to pay our tribute to him, to his descendants, to all the people of the US, to all the African Americans, or people of African descent, to remind them that, we have come this far, and as a result of the contributions made by Mr. Martin Luther King, we pay our respect in that regard. And just maybe a quick thing here to point out that he was the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. I believe he would be the second person of African descent to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, because I think the first one to receive Nobel Peace Prize is Chief Albert Luthuli of KwaZulu-Natal. He received it earlier, and then not too long after him, Dr. Martin Luther King was awarded with Nobel Peace Prize. It was around 1986 that this day was a special holiday by President Ronald Reagan.
Now that is another thing about this philosophy. I guess it's one of the most misunderstood aspects. It says that it is possible to struggle passionately and unrelentingly against an unjust system and yet not stoop to hatred in the process. The love ethic can stand at the center of a nonviolent movement. And people always ask me, what in the world do you mean by this? How can you love people who are bombing your home, and people who are threatening your children, and people who are using violence against your every move? I guess they have a point. I'm not talking about emotional bosh at this point. It is nonsense to urge oppressed people to love their violent oppressor in an affectionate sense. This isn't what we're talking about. Unfortunately, the Greek language comes to our aid in trying to discover the meaning of love in this context. There are three words in the Greek language for love. One is the word eros. Eros is a sort of aesthetic love. Plato used to talk about it a great deal in his dialogues, a yearning of the soul for the realm of the divine. It has come to us to be a sort of romantic love, and so in this sense we've all read about Eros and the beauties of literature. In a sense, Edgar Allan Poe was talking about Eros when he talked about his beautiful Annabel Lee with the love surrounded by the halo of eternity. In a sense, Shakespeare was talking about Eros when he said, love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. It is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. It is a star to every wandering bark. I can remember that because I used to quote it to my wife when we were courting. That's Eros. Then that is phileo. The Greek language talks about this kind of reciprocal love, a sort of a love that develops out of the fact that you like the person. You love because you are loved. This is friendship. That is another word in the Greek language. It is the word agape. Agape is more than friendship. Agape is more than aesthetic, a romantic love. Agape is understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill for all men. It is an overflowing love that seeks nothing in return. Theologians would say that it is the love of God operating in the human heart. And when one rises to love on this level, he loves every man, not because he likes him, but because God loves him. And he rises to the level of loving the person who does the evil deed while hating the deed that the person does. And I think this is the kind of love that can guide us through the days and weeks and years ahead. This is the kind of love that can help us achieve and create the beloved community. I think this is what Jesus meant when he said, love your enemies, and I'm so happy he didn't say like your enemies. It's pretty difficult to like some people. Like is an affectionate. It has sentimental qualities, and frankly it's difficult to like, I find it very difficult to like Senator Thurman and Senator Eastland and the things they are doing on this civil rights issue and the way they are voting. I really don't like it. But Jesus says, love them, and love is greater than like. Love is understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill for all men. And I seriously say that I think this can stand at the center of the nonviolent movement and help bring about the new America, the great America. And so, as Dr. Oxenham said earlier, we can stand before our most violent opponents and say in substance, we will match your capacity to inflict suffering by our capacity to endure suffering. We will meet your physical force with soul force. Do to us what you will, and we will still love you. We cannot in all good conscience obey your unjust laws, because non-cooperation with evil is as much a moral obligation as is cooperation with good. And so throw us in jail, and we will still love you. Bomb our homes and threaten our children, and as difficult as it is, we will still love you. Send your hooded perpetrators of violence into our communities at the midnight hours and beat us and drag us out on some wayside road and leave us half dead, and as difficult as it is, we will still love you. But be ye assured that we will wear you down by our capacity to suffer, and one day we will win our freedom. We will so appeal to your heart and your conscience that we will win you in the process, and our victory will be a double victory. This is a nonviolent message, and it is this message, it is this approach, it is this method that has been used all across the country. Students by the thousands have taken our deep groans and passionate yearnings for freedom and filtered them in their own souls and fashioned them into a creative protest, which is an epic known all over our nation. And as a result of that disciplined, dignified, determined, courageous, yet nonviolent efforts, they have been able to bring about integration at lunch counters in more than 350 cities in the South. And things are still happening as a result of the nonviolent movement. And so this method will help the individuals who use it go into the new age which is emerging with the right attitude. It will help every Negro as he struggles to realize that he must struggle with all his might for first-class citizenship, but he must not use second-class methods to gain it. It will help him to realize that he must not substitute one tyranny for another. He will realize that a doctrine of black supremacy is as dangerous as a doctrine of white supremacy, and that God is not interested merely in the freedom of black men and brown men and yellow men, but God is interested in the freedom of the whole human race and the creation of a society where all men will live together as brothers, and every man will respect the dignity and worth of human personality. This is what the nonviolent discipline, when one takes it seriously, says. And so I'm convinced that with all of these methods at work, we will be able to move on into that new and great day, and the American dream will be a reality. And may I say that this problem which we face is not a sectional problem. This problem which we face is not confined to any particular community. The fact is that no